Hi friends, I wanted to show you one more quick selection tool trick before we export our Photoshop collages, okay? So when you pick up your selection tool and you pick up the one that looks like a paintbrush, right? So we have the marquee tool, we have the lasso tool that lets you draw, and if you hover over it, it shows you how that works, right? The marquee tool lets you draw a rectangle or a circle. The lasso tool lets you draw a specific line. And then we have the quick selection tool, okay? And we opened that up before and we looked at the magic wand, which is great if you're clicking a field of color and you want to select all of it, like we did with the tiny sheep. The quick selection tool right here is also very useful because it's like a little paintbrush that allows you to make a selection. So I'm going to show you an example of how I might use this. Let's say I'm working on this layer right here, right, the side of a mountain layer, and I want to tuck this chalkboard behind this little turn on the mountain. So with this layer selected, I can come over here and I can just paint with my paintbrush, and it found that edge for me, okay? And if I, for example, accidentally got this whole part that I don't want, that's easy for me to get rid of because I can just come up here and click the selection minus version, and then I can just erase away the part of the selection that I don't want, okay? So that can be a really good way to select a certain part of your image, okay? After you make that selection, you have a couple of options, right? So we did that thing before where we created a mask. In this case, instead of doing that, I'm just going to copy and paste this part of the mountain on top of where it already exists on the image so that I can tuck the chalkboard behind it as if it's coming from around the corner. So to copy and paste, and this is true in almost all the softwares, right? I'm going to use Control-C to copy and then Control-V to paste. So now I have a little layer. If we turn off things that are underneath it, like the trail, right? I have this little layer now that's just that rock, okay? And then I have the rest of it. So now, because I have this layer and it's above my chalkboard in the stack, okay, I can tuck my chalkboard behind it. So I'm going to now go back to the Move tool, which is keyboard shortcut V right here. If you hover over it, moves a selection or layer, Move tool V. And then I can click on my chalkboard and I can tuck it behind. So like it's coming from around that corner, okay? So that is a very useful way to pick parts of an image and separate them out from everything else. Now, if I'm organizing this file, best practices would be to go ahead and name that like foreground rock or something so that I can find it again later. So that it's not just layer 1, layer 2, layer whatever nonsense, okay? So let's say this weird collage represents me and I think I'm finished with it. So the first thing I'll do is save, Control-S, and it found a recovered copy, but we're just gonna save over the original. Okay, great. So now I've saved it as a Photoshop file. A lot of times a Photoshop file is an okay export option, but the better thing to do would be to send a file that anyone can read, whether or not they have Photoshop or a Photoshop reading software on their computer. So what we're going to do for your deliverable, for your assignment, what you turn in, is we're going to send what's called a PNG, which is Portable Network Graphics. It's a compressed file, but if your image has transparency, PNG does maintain that transparency, which doesn't really matter in this case, but in other places in your life it might. So in order to do that, and this is what you'll submit for your assignment, you can either go to Save As or you can go to Export, Quick Export as PNG, and that's what we're going to do this time. And it should pop up a lovely little savey window about where it's going to go, which will be inside of that self-portrait project. And I would type V1, or I would put today's date in it. Okay, so V1 means it's version 1. And as you do revisions on projects, you'll have multiple versions of your exports. So I would just do V1. You can also put the date so that then it's easy for anyone who's reading your file to know which is the most recent copy of it. But we'll just do V1 for this project, and I'll hit save. And now that is what I would like you to upload to the assignment here in Schoology by next class when we will present them. Okay, great. I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.